everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Hot for Teacher. I'm Adam Coble. This is my Twitch channel. Maybe it's my YouTube channel. I don't know. I can't tell where you're watching this from. Actually, I can. That's the magic of analytics. So the thing about it is, we all have relationships. We have relationships with our friends. We have family relationships. We have work relationships. We have school relationships. Maybe if you're really lucky, you have an arch nemesis. That would be cool. I don't think I've ever really had a nemesis before. I've definitely had people who didn't like me very much. Still do. It's not a great feeling. But you know what? That's how relationships work. Sometimes they give you feelings. And we're here to talk about them. Relationships, I mean, not feelings, though that's going to happen anyway. There's this other show that we do, and it is called Office Hours, and we talk about role-playing games, and in it, sometimes we talk about relationships between players, and there were enough questions in that show about relationships that I thought, you know what? We're going to spin this thing off. We're going to do its own thing. So this is Hot for Teacher. In Hot for Teacher, I answer 3 questions every week about relationships. It can be about sexy relationships. It can be about love. It can be about friendship or work, or it can be about your relationship to yourself, which I think one of these questions is. And they're all interesting to me, and I hope they're interesting to you too. If you have a question, if you want to submit a question for Hot for Teacher, you can. That's exactly how the show works. You can go to my website, www.adam-coble.com. There's a Hot for Teacher link. Click it, and then fill out the form. And then I will try to answer your question, or a question very much like it. And we do this 3 questions per episode, every episode. So thank you for coming. Before we get into it today, I have had, since our last episode, I have had a lot of capital B big relationship feelings, like personally. My relationships lately have been very much at the forefront of my mind. I have had a very close friend of mine pass away, which of course leads to a lot of complicated feelings. But it's also affected my relationships with the other people who are also friends with this person, and has, in some instances, I think, reminded us that we're all so extremely temporary. And so that's been, if nothing else, kind of a nice reminder, a nice way to bring it back. Tell your friends you appreciate them. Tell the people around you that you love them, because you never know when they're going to evaporate from the universe. Seriously, get on that. But also I went to Gen Con, which is a convention for games, and I'll talk about that in another time. But the thing that I love about these conventions, they're stressful, they're intense, they are a lot, but I get to see people there that I only ever see at Gen Con, and that's really nice. That is the best reason to go to those things. I get to see my Burning Wheel friends. I get to see my Lay Waste friends. I get to see my Kickstarter friends. I get to see all the people that I only see at cons. And maybe I got to see you, and maybe you told me you appreciate that I do this show, which is just massively meaningful for me. So thank you. If we bumped into each other at Gen Con and you said hello and asked me to sign something, or shared a game or a video thought or feeling, thank you for that. That means a lot to me. I have been in a very relational place lately, so I've been looking forward to doing this episode. I've been looking forward to talking about this stuff. And as I get into the questions for today, as we start answering these questions, talking about relationships, remember, you can submit your own, and also take what we talk about here today and go out into the world and use it to inspire further conversations that you're going to have with people around you. Go to a friend, go to a coworker and say, hey, I was watching this video the other day, and this pink-haired internet weirdo was talking about this interesting relationship thing. Because use me as a segue. Do it. Not the kind with the wheels you're for a mall. I'm not. I guess if you're small, you could climb on my back and you could use me as a segue. But you know what I'm talking about. All right, question number 1. Save me, Michael. So Michael asks, my SO, which I assume is significant other and not science officer. But if you would like to imagine that this question is about Michael and his science officer, you're welcome to. My significant other and I have a lot of conflict concerning the ideals of helping your loved ones versus pursuing your dreams. I'm ambitious, but I also know that if I don't work and try to save, we won't be able to do anything without great hardship on ourselves and others in our lives. My SO, on the other hand, believes that we should be able to do both. However, I am the only one paying the bills, and sometimes we have to ask our parents for money. We only make so much on my wages alone. They do not work and say on occasion that my want for financial stability first is wrong. That we shouldn't wait for then and just take a risk. Could I possibly be wrong in all this? Am I playing it all too safe? Thank you for your time. Big fan of your work. Take care. I will. Thank you, Michael. Boy. I feel sometimes like relationships, especially cohabitating, fiscally entwined relationships, are like love and money are like church and state. If you can keep them separate for the love of all that is good, try. But that's a personal preference. I know that most of the way that the structures of the world exist, most of the way the world is set up, especially in Western culture where we kind of abandon our family connections when we become adults, it's built for paired couple units who are financially codependent to live, right? A lot of people who want to live on their own struggle to do so because rent is expensive, because being alive on your own is difficult, right? And so we end up in these situations where we pair up with other people and we cohabitate. We can both, live in a 1-bedroom apartment because we sleep in the same bed, and that's a given. And then we have a family, and like it's part of the escalator that we get put into these positions. Now, I think that people are starting to, not just starting, but the people that I know are starting to find alternate ways around this, right? There are people who are living alone if they can do so financially. There are collectives, right? People living with a bunch of their friends. But this stuff is hard. There is a narrative that involves leaving the nest, going out on your own, becoming financially stable, not necessarily as an individual, but as a pair unit. I know I've struggled with this before, right? And I feel like a lot of people who have had kind of traditional normative life experiences have been in this position where like maybe you moved in with somebody too soon because you couldn't afford rent on your own, or somebody got evicted and you're like, well, we're dating, so let's just come on in, jump into my life. It's hard, right? It's hard when you tangle that stuff up, and it requires frank and honest communication about things like how much money do you make? Who is responsible for what fiscal things? Are we going to approach this on a percentage base? I was talking about this the other day about if you imagine, think about maybe your situation or the situations of people around you. If you are cohabitating with a loved one, say someone you are in a romantic relationship with, and the rent on the place that you live is X amount of dollars. Do you both simply pay half of X? Or do you divide X by some percentage of what you make in a year, right? Is there a from each according to their need type of situation? I feel like a lot of people just don't have this conversation, that it's just like, well, we're kind of going to keep our financial stuff separate and we're kind of going to merge it. And if we get married, it'll all become one thing. There's some very traditional normative expectations that are built around this. And I think much like anything else that we're operating on expectation, it behooves us to stop a moment and talk about it. It behooves us to stop a minute and say, hey, what exactly are we doing here? And is it the most healthy thing for us? And it sounds to me like Michael and his significant other are in this position where Michael wants to work and to try and save and to build up what is often referred to as a nest egg so that in the future, they will be able to do the things that they want safely, in the sense that they will have a cushion of money to fall back on. And it sounds to me like Michael's significant other instead wants the both of them to push on with their goals, however fiscally responsible they may or may not be, right? Throw caution to the wind, do what you love, and the money will follow. This is a pretty fundamental dyad of opinions. This idea that we have to choose between fiscal security and following our dreams. And for a lot of people, I think for most people, that is a reality, right? This struggle. And I don't know that there are very many people, unless you are born into a position where you are independently wealthy, God help you, and you are able to simply be a thing that doesn't pay very well. All of this stuff is underpinned by the systems that exist all around us, right? Capitalism is this thing where it's like only things that make money are valuable, and everything else, unless you can use it to make money, is therefore irrelevant. And so it's not just about Michael and his relationship, right? It's about all of our relationships to the structures of work and money and paying rent and being a person that exists around us. So we're all struggling with this to some degree or another, Michael. My personal journey, my story involved doing what Michael is talking about here, right? Doing the thing I didn't want to do, suffering through it for enough time to build up that safety net so that I could then abandon the bad thing in favor of trying the difficult thing. And I lucked out, thanks to you. So fucking thank you for that. But I was able to put that work in because I suffered for a while, and that's the way that I go through things. But when you're in it, it's very, very hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? It's very, very hard to see where you might end up, especially when it's uncertainty. So here's what I would suggest to anyone who is in a situation they are not happy with, and they would like to do something different with their life that is a risk. They are doing something that is potentially traditionally enforced by capitalism. They're working a job. They are making the money, but they would like to do something like art or try something new or go back to school or whatever, right? Do some work. Sit down with the people you are financially tied to, whether this is your significant other or your parents or whoever, your financial advisor, whatever. Sit down with these people and talk about your dreams, but do not do it in a fluffy, ambient sort of way, right? Codify that stuff. Don't say, someday I would like to be an animator. Break that thing down. Make it into concrete things you can accomplish. Figure out what you need to become an animator, right? Obviously, draw, animate, watch cartoons, engage in that community, right? Do that on your own when you can, but also think about what it's going to take to get that into a position where it will be returning you money, if that's what you want to do. If this is about a dream job situation, right? And an ambitious situation. So think about what you need to do. What is the first thing you need to do? Where will you go from there? How does it work? And then assign values to that, right? Shop around, figure out, is there education that needs to get done? How much do you have to pay in rent every month? What if you don't have a job? How long can you go without that, right? Do those things. Figure that stuff out. Come to the table with a plan, and then talk to your loved ones about it. But yeah, keep in mind, and this is a great point. Tristere made this point in chat. This is a great point. You want to talk to your SO about this, recognizing that you are in a situation together where they are reliant on you for their continued existence, right? If this person is not in a position to contribute fiscally, if you say, cool, well, I'm going to quit my job, you're not just affecting yourself, you are affecting the people around you. So this is why we want to include our community, right, in these conversations. Our little bubble of people with all these interconnected threads, you want them to be part of this because you have to trust that they are going to listen to you and that they believe you when you say, this is what I want and need to be happy, and this is my plan. And they will be able to talk to you and talk about their boundaries and their needs, and you'd be able to build something together. It's tough here because this situation feels almost inverse of what you might expect, in the sense that Michael is making money for the family, for this unit. Michael is making the money, but also Michael is being encouraged to go out and do the thing, right? To take the financial risk. It's easy to say take the risk when maybe you don't have to feel like you're responsible for making sure everyone gets to eat and get to live in a house. So my suggestion here would be just to talk about this. I don't know what your relationship with your parents is, but talk to them too, right? If you have a good relationship with your parents, if sometimes asking your parents for money is not an emotionally fraught process, if your parents are open to supporting you or loaning you money or being a part of this planning process, talk to them about it. Because I believe that you should be able to both survive and pursue your dreams, but you want to do it safely. I don't think that it's reasonable for anybody to just light their entire life on fire and expect to come out the other side safe, especially when you have other people that are relying on you. So, I mean, your real question is, could I possibly be wrong about all this? I mean, I can't say, right? Because wrong or right is not a universal concept, especially in a situation like this. I can't tell you, yes, you are absolutely correct, or no, you're absolutely incorrect, because I don't know the exact details of your situation. And even if I did, I wouldn't really be in a position to tell you that, because for you, it's about making the right decisions for your life and for the people around you, right? I am an inveterate safe player. I don't take big risks without knowing that I have some kind of cushion to land on, especially financial risks. And yes, sometimes that means to me that I've missed opportunities. Sometimes it means that I've said no to things out of fear for loss, right? Sometimes that's a thing, right? For me, I absolutely struggle with like making decisions that are bad for me to protect or help other people. I do things that may not be the smartest for me so that the people around me can do well. And that's something that I've had to figure out where that line is. It's all very complicated. Don't martyr yourself for someone else, but recognize that you're not alone. You're part of a network, and that can be good, and that you can struggle with that, right? And I think that any time that you intersect love and money, we have this, because honestly, capitalism doesn't care about love. Love is not a product. And so when we intersect money and that kind of thing with love in our relationships, it gets messy. And I think that the way we combat that, messiness is by just bringing it out in the open, right? I try to varying degrees of success to be open about this sort of stuff with people, where I say, listen, friend, I know how much money I make, and I have a pretty good idea of how much money you make. And as a result, I am going to make these decisions about our interactions, right? I will say, I know that you are struggling. Let me buy you dinner so that we can still go out and have dinner and you don't have to feel guilty. Or like, I would like to go to the movies and that's expensive, so let me buy you a ticket, right? In the same way, if I'm around someone for whom doing something or buying something might be fiscally unreasonable for me, but is easy for them, I might say, hey, I really want to do this thing with you. I want to participate in this thing. Maybe you can help me. But Jesus, that is hard. It is a hard thing to talk about this. We are programmed by the system we are in to not talk about it. Talk about it. Talking about how much money you make, bringing that stuff into your relationships and being honest about it to help diffuse tension is resistance, right? And I know it's hard, and I know that it takes time and practice, but it sounds like you're already having that conversation a little bit. And it's cool that you are being encouraged to follow your dreams. So your significant other is going to be a positive influence on you for pursuing that stuff. It sounds like to me, Michael, that the person you are with wants you to live your fucking dreams. And that is a cool person to be around. You've already got a great head start on this. So just like try to come up with a plan. I find breaking something down into smaller pieces makes it digestible. It makes it possible. It's one thing, like I said, it's one thing to have a dream. It's another to know how to get there. So break it down into steps. Figure out what you would need to save to safely do that. Think about work. Think about how the people around you can help support you. And think about how to make this process safe for everybody. And you don't have to do it alone. You're part of a network, a cool network of people. Work together. Because then when it comes around time for your significant other to follow their dreams, you'll be able to help in the same way, right? We all want to be able to do the things that make us happy. And sometimes you can do this with the support of the people around you, but it takes work. So you're on your way. I don't think you are wrong by any means. I think trying to be safe is fine. Don't let your ambitions and your dreams pass you by. Listen to your SO, but work together. You and your science officer, you both want to come out happy and fulfilled and safe. That's what you want. So, Kimsky has a question about personae. I am a loud person. I speak my mind. I stand up for myself and my friends. Like that on me. I stand up for myself. Separate statement. And my friends like that on me. But it has caused some friction here and there. And I know it also will in the future, especially we're talking about working environment. I tried to work on this, but I always come into the same situation. How do you find a balance of making yourself more socially acceptable, dealing with the pushback of your behavior causing friction, and not losing yourself as a person? How much should I change for others just for the sake of it making my life easier? A question for the ages. How much do we change ourselves for the sake of other people? This is such a good question because I think that we do this all day, every day, right? For example, right now, I am being a more confident, more extroverted version of myself for you, right? I am believing that the things that I say are meaningful to people. I am getting over my anxiety, my deep-seated sense of meaninglessness, and I'm talking from a position of like interest and engagement, and I'm trying to be charismatic, and I'm changing how I normally behave for the sake of this show. And I do it every time that I turn my stream on. I do it every time I leave my house. I do it every time I interact with another person, right? There are many masks that we wear as people. And I feel like this is pretty like perfunctory stuff. We know this, right? This is a fundamental thing about human psychology, that we change how we are a little bit or a lot depending on the audience that we are around, and we respond to the way that people respond to us, and we learn how to be from the way that the people around us are. I guess end statement. That's how they are. So here's the thing, right? Kimsky, I'm going to point out something here. So loud people that speak their mind and stand up for themselves sometimes get friction or pushback, but I will draw attention to Kimsky's gender. Women who speak their mind and stand up for themselves in a work environment struggle more than people of other genders, men particularly. right? This is a thing, Kimski. I would just like to let you know that this is something that happens. People who are perceived, who either identify as women or are perceived as women, get told to shut the fuck up all the time. They get interrupted. They get stepped on in conversation. This is just a thing. So, Kimski, do not stop. Obviously, you are your own person. You don't have to listen to me. I would just like to encourage you to continue being a boss. Stand up for yourself. Speak your mind, right? Listen to your friends. Your friends know this is a good quality. You're going to cause friction. You have to make decisions for yourself about the safety of that friction, right? Obviously, that's a thing, but like this is a universal thing. I think every woman on earth who has ever been in a position to be loud, to stand up for themselves, to speak their mind has been told to stop at least once in their life. So you are definitely not alone in this, Kimski, and I would like to encourage you to continue. You got to make decisions for you, right? You have to make a decision about how much is safe for you to say the things that are on your mind, right? We all think things that maybe we shouldn't say, but not because we shouldn't say them on some objective universal level, but like subjectively, it's just not the right time, or it's not the right person, or it just wouldn't be the right thing to do. We all have inside thoughts that need to stay inside thoughts. But you have to serve what lets you feel like you're telling your story, being Kimski, right? If you feel like you are constantly in a position where you are having to zip your lips for the sake of other people's fragile ego or whatever, I don't want you to sacrifice yourself, right? Don't martyr yourself because of other people's insecurity. Like, just don't. If you can manage it, but make smart decisions. And it sucks. And it sucks because sometimes you are going to be in a position where you want to say what you want to say. You have an opinion about a project or about the direction something is going, or you want to bring something up in a meeting, and you're going to want to speak your mind, and you're going to realize that it is not the safe thing to do. And I am sorry that you will be in that position. But let me just say, for everybody who isn't Kimski, for all of the men who are in that meeting watching Kimski get talked over, for all of the men that work with the Kimskis of the world that see them causing friction by speaking their mind, be a good ally, right? Phrases like, Kimski, I know you weren't, it sounds like you weren't finished talking when Carl over here interrupted you. Carl, let's let Kimski finish what she was saying before, right? Stand up for people who are struggling with this, especially women in the workplace. Just like take note of this happening and help diffuse that. And for you, Kimski, I think, you got to be yourself. And I hate that as advice. I hate it, right? I hate it. I hate being told, be yourself. I hate being told the people that really care about you will accept you for who you are, because I don't believe in a universal truth of who you are. I don't know that there is a Platonic ideal of a Kimski, in the same way that there is no one Adam. There's Hot for Teacher Adam, and Hot for Teacher Adam is similar but different from Office Hours Adam, and both of those are similar but different to Video Game Stream Adam, or meeting at a convention Adam, or going out for ramen Adam, right? We inevitably create various personae, but I think you can feel when you're not being. Yeah, there's blurry Adam. Exactly. I think you can feel when you're not being honest with yourself. There's a difference between playing a role that you yourself have created and playing a role that someone else has forced you into. Right? Wear the masks. Be the people you want to be. Choose what you want to project into the world and be that person, but do it because it is a choice. Sometimes we choose to be a version of ourselves that maybe we aren't super proud of. That maybe on Twitter or when we're alone or when we're with our close friends, we say things and we do things that feel more authentic than we are brave enough to do or say in person or at work. And I want you not to torture yourself over that. I don't want you to look at this better version of yourself, this more authentic version of yourself, and feel bad you can't be her all the time. Because nobody can be anybody all the time. So you are a loud person. You speak your mind. You stand up for yourself. Your friends see that in you. They recognize that. You feel comfortable being that way around them. But at work, you're playing a different game. Right? Keep in mind, too, that like I'm talking about this from a perspective where my pretending is pretty thin, right? Sometimes I have to kind of pretend that I'm straight so as to avoid conflict. But it's not universal, and it's certainly not a level of danger for me most of the time. But for some people, like, for example, women speaking their mind, people of color in a predominantly white environment, right? I recognize that I cannot tell you, just be yourself and do whatever is smart, right? Like, just do whatever feels authentic for you, because that might put you in danger. I have to give people advice about coming out a lot. I get people to ask me, like, you know, I live in a small town and everybody here is really religious and my parents hate the gays, but I am the gays. But I hear all along, like, everybody says all the time, like, come out, it's so good, it'll make you feel happy and you can live your truth and march in the pride parade. But like, if you live somewhere that has less pride parades and more, I don't know, the KKK, it's not safe for you to come out. So like, look at your situation, Kimski, and make smart decisions for yourself. And I mean that both in the sense of, like, you know your situation better than I do. You know how smart it's going to be authentic and choose safe places to be the most yourself. And I think we all do that, right? We're all more or less who we see ourselves to be, depending on the people that we are around. Which I guess means you want to live a life where you're surrounded by people who appreciate and value you for who you are. If you can get a job where speaking your mind and standing up for yourself the way that you like to do rewards you, rather than it being an environment you have to pretend, do that if you can. So, I don't know, maybe this is one of those questions. How much should you change for others just for the sake of making your life easier? Authenticity and ease often come at a cost. They're often at opposite ends of the spectrum. And if you can find ways to make them not that, do it. do it if it's at all possible. But take care of yourself, right? Do what is safe for you. And again, and I cannot stress this hard enough, being someone that helps people live their authenticity, right? Live who they really are, exist in their space of truth. That's what being an ally is. Whether it's an ally to women or people of color or LGBTQ plus people, whatever. It's using the ability that you have to just casually go around being yourself to make space for other people. So if you have an office job, next time you're in a meeting, listen for Kimski. Listen to Kimski being interrupted. Listen to Kimski attempting to speak their mind and being stepped on. And then do something about it. I sometimes feel like we get these questions on Hot for Teacher where someone will ask something and I end up talking to everyone around the person because it's like, yes, you're in a bad situation, but it's not like you were creating it. Should we be ourselves? I don't know. Do we ever be ourselves? Can we? Are we ever ourselves? Or is the self a shifting and protean mass that resembles different people as we move through our lives? I know what my experience is like, but I don't know. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe there are people out there who just have like an objective universal version of themselves that's solidified at like age 14 and they've just never changed. But I'm not that person, and I don't know if I know anyone who is like that. Yeah. Identity. It's a big deal, right? It's like the human condition. That's the thing that sets us apart. Our self-awareness, our like ability to differentiate myself from all other humans. It's incredibly isolating and strange. But like we're the only, as far as we know, the only species that does that. And then the whole thing about recognizing that we're these like unique individuals with our own life experience that can be incredibly isolating, and then being deeply aware that eventually we will just evaporate. Woo. Whew. Yeah, right? Existential dread. Who doesn't like a little existential dread in the morning? Who doesn't like looking at the vast uncaring universe and recognizing, boy, it sure is fun to acknowledge your own death. Anyway, keep on rocking in the free world, Kimski. Speak your mind. Do your thing. You are an individual. And you know what? The person that is you, who is keeping things on the DL at work, that is no less authentic than the woman who shouts at the top of her lungs when she's not at work. Those are both you. You're not selling yourself out. You're just doing what's smart. Taking care of you. We got a big question from an anonymous question asker. And I know that the text is very small, so I'm going to read it for you. Here you go. Full screen this if you need the detail. This is the thing. Most hot, if you want to get a question on Hot for Teacher, the best way to do it is just make it succinct. Sometimes though, people need to explain, and that's fine, but it's a little harder to read. I'm going to read this question for you, but if you need to refer, here's the text. My boyfriend and I, this is from an anonymous she. My boyfriend and I have been in a relationship for almost 2 years. And it feels as if I'm just now realizing we're on two completely ideas of what we want for our lives as a couple. My boyfriend is still contemplating marriage and kids, and I've known that I've wanted a family and marriage since I was a teen. I feel like spending almost 2 years with someone help you decide whether or not you want to get married and have kids together, but this isn't the case for him. While I'm trying to be understanding of all this, I'm incredibly frustrated. It feels like I put all my goals on for us on a time limit, but this is because I have a health condition that has decreased my ability to have children the longer I wait. We recently had a blowout about it and decided we needed to spend more time away separately instead of being around each other all the time because it was becoming toxic. That way he has room to focus on other things he wants to do and I the same. But now that we're not around each other as much, I find myself wondering if the relationship should end, because if it's toxic to constantly be around each other now, what will happen when we are living together? Also, the fact that he and I are not setting similar life goals for our relationship is bothersome to me. I'm so in love with this man and want nothing but the best for him. but I'm beginning to believe that the best for him is simply not me being his partner. He and I have been through a lot together, and my last resort is to abandon the relationship, but I'm not sure if I should wait for his decision to have a family or choose to leave. I'm completely torn. Should we, upon recognizing that a relationship might not be the best course of action, despite how we feel about it, that's a hard place to be. Like, do we break up for the greater good? I have done this. I have had this experience. I have been with someone. We have been together. We've talked about living together forever. We have talked about building a cohabitated life. We have talked about having babies, right? And I realized I don't want that. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to contribute a person to a world that I can barely tolerate most of the time. I don't believe in it. It has become something that I've realized I don't feel comfortable with. And the person that I was with was like, well, this is what I want. And we decided that part of the relationship needed to stop. We needed to just move on. They need to be able to be with someone in that way so that they could get married and have kids and live that life. And it wasn't, and I think this is the thing that complicates it, because sometimes if you love someone and you love yourself, you should not compromise. We are taught so often that what it looks like to be in love is to take the things that you want and take the things that someone else wants and find something somewhere between them. But I don't think that's true. In my experience, what makes for a good relationship is finding someone with whom the Venn diagram overlaps as much as possible, right? That what I want and what you want, that list has a lot of things that match up. There's a lot of weird mythology about getting people together and keeping them together, right? Opposites attract, compromise, happy wife, happy life. It feels to me like kind of like horseshit, honestly. I sometimes joke with my friends about, we talk about relationship anarchy and about non-monogamy and about relationships and stuff. Because I talk to people about this outside of, I have to tell you, I'm talking to other people about relationships. Yes, it's true. I'm a conversational non-monogamist. I'm sorry if this comes as a shock to you. I'm speaking to other audiences. No, that's not true. You're my only audience, okay? But sometimes I have intimate one-on-one conversations with other people. I know. It's true. I had several of them while I was away at Gen Con. I just needed to be honest with you about it. The point here is that I have these conversations with other people jokingly about how I am a relationship nihilist, in the sense that I think that our culture, our religions, our very ways of life as people incentivize with positive emotional connection or positive feedback. They incentivize relationships. They incentivize being in relationships. They incentivize having friends, often having a lot of friends, having partners, having sex with people, making babies. We are incentivized by the cultures that we are in to believe that relationships have some kind of innate or inherent value. Everybody wants friends. Everybody wants a partner. Everyone wants love. Everybody likes to sex, but none of those things are true necessarily. I think that nothing has any inherent value, including relationships, which means that if a relationship is not bringing you from zero up, it's not doing you any good. No relationship at all is better than having a bad relationship. Relationships are optional. Now, some people have needs that involve lots of relationships. Some people feel the need to bang it out, right? Some people like sex. Most people don't really get a choice to think about their needs. They are told what their needs are. The point here, I guess, for our anonymous question asker here, the point is your feelings for this man that you love are good and pure and cool. And it is awesome that you have someone in your life that you care about and who cares about you. But it sounds to me like a monogamous, cohabitating, co-parenting, long-term relationship is not in the cards. And there is this thing that happens where we get into a relationship with someone, and because we love them and because we want them to be happy, we wait. We're patient with them. We set pace in our lives based on the slowest person. We don't like to set boundaries. We don't like to say, I need you to figure this out, and I need you to figure it out soon, or I will break up with you. Because ultimatums are cruel, right? Ultimatums are holding the relationship hostage. But I want you to know there's a big difference between marry me, or I will light this bus full of elderly veterans on fire, and I want to be in a relationship that will end in getting married and having babies because that is my personal need. And if we don't match up, that's okay. But like, we need to stop. I need to stop waiting for you. Lighting the elderly on fire. Getting your needs fulfilled. So what you're doing here is not like being difficult or being pushy or whatever. I think that we martyr ourselves under the auspices of patience. I do this a lot. I am very bad for this. I will like readily admit that this is a problem that I have, where I wait for people. I suffer for other people so that they can be fulfilled while I sit around waiting for what I need. I do it in small ways now. I used to do it in big ways, but I'm learning, right? So what I think the healthy thing to do here for yourself and for all people is to know what you need and to listen to your needs, right? Don't let somebody else tell you what you want isn't valid or make you wait. You have this very real physical condition, which adds an extra layer of intensity to this. But even if you didn't, even if you were just like, yo, I want to have babies, and he was like, I don't know, like 2 years, maybe it's enough time, maybe it isn't. That's not up to me. It's up to you. Are you willing to wait? If so, how long? Right? It's just like what I was saying to Michael at the beginning of the episode. Know what you want. Know what it takes to get there, and then figure out if the people around you fit into that, right? You are not, the thing is, you don't want to sit here waiting for this person for years and years and years and then find out that it's too late. Like, what a fucking tragedy that is. You've only got one life here, and on literally YOLO. And I'm not saying this to encourage you to put on your shutter shades and drink a Four Loko and jump into a pool. I'm saying this because you can't live for someone else, and you can't live for someone else, even if that someone else is like a happy future you in a universe that may not exist. Right? You are not the Quisatz Haderach of boyfriends. you can only see what you need in your own head. You can only envision the kinds of things that your life might be, and you can only move there with active steps. You can't wait for this person, however much you love them, to change their mind or to get their shit together. Love should not be about bleeding yourself dry for someone else's sake. I have had to learn this lesson so many fucking times. Suffering for someone else is not inherently good. And in fact, most of the time, just like sucks a butt. Most of the time, it's a form of self-harm to deny yourself the things that you need. You're just blaming someone else instead of yourself. You are starving yourself of what you need. But in this case, it's easy because you're saying, well, like, I'm being patient, right? I'm being a good person. I'm letting somebody else have the room they need to figure it out. You don't need to do that. It will not make you love them less. Now, they might be mad at you if you say, hey, I need babies. That will make me happy. That is how I envision my life going. And they're like, I don't want to have babies. So one of you will have to come around on that. You're going to need to know when your time limit is. There is nothing wrong with having boundaries, with having needs, and then telling people, yo, this is what I want. If you don't want that, we can't do this. But can I just, you want to know the secret cheat code, the secret relationship cheat code? Love doesn't have to mean cohabitating, co-parenting, buying a minivan, being buried in a mass grave with you and all your relatives. Love can mean supporting someone, caring deeply about them, helping them get what they want in their life, being a part of their life, and not having to be impregnated by them. You can care deeply for someone and be an integral element of their life and still have those other things with someone else or by yourself. You don't need anybody. You don't need a co-parent. It's cool if you want one, and you should go get one if that's what you need to be happy. That's what you want, but you don't have to. Love is way more flexible than we think that it is, and sometimes it takes doing it weird and different to know that. Sometimes it takes saying, I love you, but we should never have sex again. I don't want to live with you. Let's not have babies, but let's not reduce the intensity of how much we love each other. We're just going to change the tune a little bit, but the volume stays the same. Right? So maybe the future of you and this person that you love deeply is embracing an alternate kind of story. Maybe what love means for you and this person is different than what you expected. Sometimes we talk about this as queering the relationship, because I think that queer people by our nature have to love differently than the narrative, right? Sometimes that means like deep-seated, collectivized, non-monogamous, polyamorous communes. But it also sometimes means like loving someone deeply in a non-romantic way. This is why I think that aromantic people and asexual people, by their very nature, are part of the queer spectrum, because their desires violate the narrative, the cultural narrative. if we were able to nihilistically embrace the idea that no relationship has any kind of inherent structural meaning, there would be no need for the LGBT rainbow. There'd be no need for queering our relationships because all relationships would be fundamentally queer. So I guess the point here I'm trying to make is that you get to make decisions. To steal a phrase from myself elsewhere, choice is the power you have. And you need to serve your own needs and desires without also sacrificing yourself for someone else, because this person you love, they're responsible for themselves too. And to me, nothing in the whole world feels more like love than two people or three people or four people, a community of people who all know what they want, they know what they need, and they are able to build a life together in which they support one another in getting those things. And I think that our Anon question asker can do that. And it's going to be hard, but like, don't back down on the things that you need. Don't back down on the things that make you happy. Don't hurt other people to get them, but recognize that sometimes it's going to hurt when what you need and what someone else needs diverge. But sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes we have to make hard decisions. You know, I talked about being in that position with someone and recognizing like, hey, you know, our relationship, the way it stands, doesn't work for us anymore. You need to go out into the world and find someone that you can get married to and have babies with that isn't me. And just because now I can talk about it and I can say like, I love this person and it's like so good that we were able to rebuild our relationship this way, it still fucking hurt. And that's the conundrum, right? That's the conundrum of and this is Kimsky's question. Sometimes we have to be a person that is different than the person we thought we were for the sake of the greater good. And sometimes that means the person we thought we were, somebody's partner, somebody's boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, maybe we're not that person. And that's really hard. So if it comes down to that, if it comes down to having to make those changes, don't feel guilty for being sad about it. I think everybody who is listening to this, I think everybody who is watching this, who's hearing me talk and saying these words has felt that feeling before of like, what is happening is good, but it feels sad anyway. We can miss people who were shitty to us. We can mourn and feel bad about the loss of something we didn't really want in the first place because we get used to being comfortable, right? It's a hard feeling, and that's super real. But if you're doing it for the greater good, and when I say the greater good, I don't mean in a like sociological sense. I mean, the greater good is you being happy. Because you get one shot at this, and there are enough challenges in life. There are enough bullshit speed bumps between you and being happy that you do not need to lay any more in your path. So figure out what being happy means to you, and then go get it. And do so in a way that makes you feel comfortable, but don't sacrifice yourself for somebody else. Even if you think it should feel good, even if it does feel good. Martyrdom isn't cool. And that's a lesson I have had to teach myself. And I hope that that's something you can learn too. Hot for teacher. That's how it works. Thanks for coming, everybody. This has been episode number 33 of Hot for Teacher. It means a lot to get to sit down and chat about this stuff together. And I hope that I hope you've been able to take something away from today's episode, and I hope that you will go forth and have your relationships and like think about what they mean to you, right? Because to me, a love unexamined is a love taken for granted. Think about the things that make you happy, reflect on why they do, and then pursue that. If you're going to light yourself on fire, you might as well do it for yourself. Thanks for coming, everybody. We will see you next time for more Hot for Teacher. If you want to submit a question, don't forget www.adam-koble.com. Click on the Hot for Teacher link. Tear yourself away from my sultry gaze and fill out that form. Once again, thank you for coming, and I will see all of you next time. Bye, friends.